Okay, so as I stated, we are going to be reading Merlin and the Dragons today. Read our objective for us, please. Volunteer. Camera, nice and loud.
Dragons analyze how a
ELA objective.
ELA objective. I can read Merlin and the Dragons analyze how a character's thoughts, feelings, and actions show his change over the course of the text, and determine the impact of illustrations on the text.
Okay, what is an illustration, James?
Illustration is like it's like the object. I mean, not the object. Is it like the writer or you're talking about the book?
Phone a friend.
Parker.
Parker, what's an illustration? The picture. Why do we have illustrations in the stories, Al? Let's come back to Jace. Jace, why do we have illustrations in the story?
So they can like think what is what it is, like what is happening.
Okay, what can you add, Tiger?
I would say to help us picture what is happening.
To help us to picture what is happening. So to fully comprehend the lesson, it's very important that we understand exactly what the objective is asking us to do, Cameron. I underlined 3 things that we're being asked to do. What's the first one, Leah? Read Merlin and the Dragons. Once we have read, EVR does not provide us with the book, so we'll be watching it on YouTube and listening, as well as analyzing the pictures. Okay, so we're reading or listening to Merlin and the Dragons. The next thing we're gonna do is what, Cameron? Analyze how a character's thoughts, feelings, and actions, Raina, show his change over the course of the text. What does it mean to analyze, Parker? Observe. What can you add to that, Blessing?
To scan, like with your eyes.
To scan. As I'm scanning and I'm analyzing.
Like
To.
I think analyze means to tell what you know and read about it and like write it down.
To determine meaning, right? So we're reading, we're analyzing, and then the final thing we're going to do is what, Darielle?
Discuss.
Determine.
Oh, determine the
Determine the impact of illustration, and we know that illustration is what, Jace?
An illustration is like a picture.
The artwork, right? Okay, so Merlin and the Dragons is pretty lengthy. It's about 20 minutes, but I want you to not only listen to the tale, but also look at the illustration. And I want you to be thinking, Raina, how do these illustrations impact how we perceive the tale? Are we ready? Okay, let's go.
Rain beat against the gray castle walls. Inside, in a bedroom hung with tapestries, the young king. Merlin and the Dragons by Jane Yolen. Illustrated by Lee Ming. The night was dark and storm clouds marched along the sky. Rain beat against the gray castle walls. Inside, in a bedroom hung with tapestries, the young King Arthur had trouble sleeping. Awake, he was frightened. Asleep, he had disturbing dreams. At last, he climbed out
Those illustrations.
took a candle to light his way, and started out the door. Suddenly remembering his crown, he turned back and found it over the bed where he tossed it angrily hours before. It felt too heavy for his head, so he carried it, letting it swing from his fingers. As he walked along the hall, strange shadows danced before him. None were as frightening as the shadows in his dreams. He climbed the tower stairs slowly, biting his lip. When he reached the top, he pushed open the wooden door. The old magician was asleep in his chair, but woke at once, his eyes quick as a hawk's. "What is it, boy?" the old man asked. "What brings you here at this hour?" "I am the king," Arthur said, but softly, as if he were not really sure. "I go where I will." He put the crown under Merlin's desk. "You are a boy," Merlin replied, "and boys should be in their beds asleep." Arthur sighed. "I could not sleep," he said. "I had bad dreams." "Ah," Merlin nodded knowingly. "The dreams." He held out a hand to the boy, but Arthur didn't dare touch those long, gnarled fingers. "Let me read your dreams." "It is one dream, actually," Arthur said, "and always the same. A fatherless boy who becomes king simply by pulling a sword from a stone." "Ah," Merlin said, withdrawing his fingers. "I know the very child. But if you cannot tell me more of your dream, I shall have to tell you one of mine. After all, a dream told is a story. What better than a story on a rainy night?" Arthur settled onto a low stool and gazed up at the wizard. A story? He had no more than a story. He'd come seeking comfort and companionship. A story was better than both. He listened as Merlin began. "In a small village high up in the rugged mountains of Wales lived a lonely, fatherless boy named Emrys.
Look at those
Dark-haired,
illustrations.
petite, small, with sharp, bright eyes and a mouth that rarely smiled. He was troubled by dreams, sleeping and waking, dreams of dragons, dreams of stone. His mother was the daughter of the local king who tried to be both mother and father. But the princesses only taught lute, songs, and needlework and prayers. She never once climbed a tree after a bird's egg or skinned her knees pursuing a lizard, or caught a butterfly in a net. Emrys had to invent that part of his growing up himself, and alone the inventing it turned out to be. The other boys in the village teased him for not knowing who his father was. "Mother's babe!" they cried, chasing him from the games. So Emrys went after birds' eggs and lizards, butterflies and frogs by himself, giving them names both odd and admiring, like Flutterby and Wriggletail, and making up stories of their creation. And he chanted strange sounding spells because he liked the sounds. Spells that sometimes seemed to work, most times did not. But he never told his dreams aloud. Dreams of dragons, dreams of
Wow.
stone. Now in the village lived an old man who knew all sorts of things, from reading and writing to how birds speak and why leaves turn brown in autumn. And because Emrys was son of a princess, the grandson of a king, the old man taught him all he knew. It was this learning that brought the village boys to him, not in friendship but in curiosity. They would ask Emrys to show them some trick with the birds, or tell them stories. Glad for the company, Emrys always obliged. He even took to making up harmless predictions to amuse them. "The rain will soon fall," he would say, and often it did. "The first spring robin will arrive." And soon after it came. Now any father's son could have made the same right guesses, and after a while the village boys were no longer impressed. However, one day Emrys found a book of seasons and planetary movements in the old man's cottage, and read it from cover to cover, and announced to the astonished boys, "Tomorrow the sun will disappear." The next day at noon, just as the calendar had foretold, an eclipse plunged the countryside into darkness. The boys and their parents were equally horrified and blamed Emrys. From then on, he was called Demon's Son, and avoided altogether. It's like a force so you'll never hear about. Years went by, and Empress grew up, incredibly alone, dreaming dreams he did not understand, dreams of a shaking tower, dreams of fighting dragons. One day, when Empress was 12, a cruel and ruthless man named Vortigern came to the valley. Vortigern had unjustly declared himself High King over all Britain. But the country was at last in revolt against him, and he had been forced to flee, riding ever farther north and west. At last he had arrived at the foot of Daenerys Emrys, the mountain which towered above the village, with a bedraggled army of tired horses, getting tattered banners emblazoned with red dragons.
Look at that illustration.
A handful of court magicians rode with him. Vortigern pointed to the jagged mountain peak. There, he said in a voice hard and determined, there will I build my battle tower, so that I may see my enemies when they approach. He turned to his soldiers. Gather the people of this village and bring them to me, for they will be the hackers and the haulers. They will make me a tower of stone. Young Empress looked on in amazement. Banners sewn with red dragons, a tower of stone. Such things had been in his dreams. What could it all mean? The Welsh stonecutters began their work under the watchful eyes of the soldiers. For many days they mined the stone, cutting huge pieces on the sides of Daenerys Empress. They swore they could hear the cries of the mountain at each cut. Next, they hauled the stones with ropes, their little Welsh ponies groaning with the effort. Finally came a day when they built the tower on the mountainside, stone upon stone, until it rose high above the valley. That night, Empress went to bed and dreamed once again of strange dreams. He dreamed that the tower, the very one built by Vortigern, shook and swayed and tumbled to the ground. And he dreamed that beneath the tower slept two dragons,
Oh.
one red as Vortigern's feathers, and one white.
Look at that illustration.
That very night, the High King's tower began to shudder and shake. With a mighty crash, it came tumbling down. In the morning, when he saw what had happened, Vortigern was furious, convinced that the villagers had done it on purpose. Your work is worthless, he yelled. You will be whipped, and then you will go back to work all over again. So the Welshmen had to go back to their stonework, great welts on their backs. They hacked and hauled, and once again the tower rose high above the valley. But the night they were finished, it was the same. The tower shook and tumbled to the ground. By morning there were only a jumble of stones. The Vortigern drove the walls even harder, and by the following week the tower was once again rebuilt. For the third time in the night, a great shudder went through the mountain, and the work was once again laying in ruins. Vortigern's rage could not be contained. He called for his magicians. There is some dark Welsh magic here. Find out the cause. My tower must stand. Now these magicians had neither knowledge nor skill, but in their fear of Vortigern, they put on a good show. They consulted the trees, both bark and root. They threw the magic sticks of prophecy. They played with the sacred stones of fate. At last they reported their findings. You must find a fatherless child, a child spawned by a demon. You must sprinkle his blood on the stones. Only then will the gods of this land let the stones stand. They smiled at one another and at Waukegan. Smiles of those sure that what they ask cannot be done. Waukegan did not notice their smiles. Go fetch me such a child. The magicians stopped smiling and looked nervous. We do not know if any such child exists, they said. We do not know if your tower can stand. Furious, Waukegan turned to his soldiers. Go to whomever brings me such a child, he roared. Before the soldiers could move, a small voice cried out, Please, sir, we of the village know such a boy. The speaker was a spindly lad named William. Come here, child, said Waukegan. Name him. William did not dare get too close to the High King. His name is Emrys, sir.
Oh.
He was spawned by a demon. He cried the sun for the sky. At that very moment, Emrys was on the mountain with the old man, absorbed in a very strange dream. Under the ruins of the tower, he saw two huge stone eggs, breathing in and out.
Oh.
Just as he emerged from his dream, he was set upon by a Waukegan soldier. What shall I do? He cried. The old man put a hand on his shoulder. Trust your dreams. The soldiers quickly bound Emrys and carried him to the High King, but Emrys refused to show any fear. You are the boy without a father, the boy spawned by a devil. What did it ask? I am a boy without a father, true, Emrys said. I am no demon's son. You have been listening to the words of frightened children. The villagers and soldiers gasped at his impudence, but Waukegan said, I will have your blood either way.
Oh.
Better that you have my dream, Emrys said. Only my dream can guide you so that your tower will stand. The boy spoke with such conviction, Waukegan hesitated. I have dreamed that beneath your tower lies a pool of water that must be drained. In the mud you will find two hollow stones. In each stone is a sleeping dragon. It is the breath of each sleeping dragon that shakes the earth and makes the tower fall. Kill the dragons and your tower will stand. Waukegan turned to his chief magician. Can this be true? The chief magician stroked his chin. Dreams can come true. Waukegan hesitated no longer. Untie the boy, but watch him, he said to the soldiers. And you, Welshman, do as the boy says. Dig beneath the rubble. So the Welshmen removed the stones and dug down until they came to a vast pool of water. Then the soldiers drained the pool. And just as Emrys had prophesied, at the pool's bottom lay two great stones. The stones seemed to be breathing in and out, and at each breath the mud around them trembled.
Look at that illustration.
Stone cutters, cried Waukegan. Break open the stones. Two men with mighty hammers descended
Dragon
the
eggs.
pit and began to pound upon the stones. Once, twice, 3 times the hammers rang out. On the third try, like jets of lightning, cracks ran round each stone, and they broke apart as if they had been giant eggs. Out of one emerged a dragon white as blue milk. Out of the other, a dragon red as old wine. Astonished at the power of his dreaming, Emrys opened and closed his mouth and could not speak. The men in the pit scrambled to safety. The High King Vortigern looked pleased. Kill them! Kill the dragons! But even as he spoke, the dragons shook out their wings and leapt into the sky. They are leaving! Cried the chief magician. They are away! Cried the soldiers. They will not fly yet, whispered Everest. No sooner had he spoken than the dragons wheeled about in the sky to face one another, claws out, belching flame. Their battle cries like nails on slate echoed in the air. Advancing on one another, the dragons clashed, breast to breast, raining teeth and scales on the ground. For hour after hour they fought, filling the air with smoke. First the red dragon seemed to be winning, and then the white. First one drew blood, and then the other. Last with a furious slash of its jaws, the white dragon caught the red by the throat. There was a moment of silence, and then the red dragon tumbled end over end and fell to the ground. The white dragon faltered down, straddling its foe and screaming victory to the air, with voice like thunder. Kill it! Kill the white now! Shouted Vortigern. As if freed from a spell, his soldiers readied their weapons. Before a single arrow could fly, the white dragon leapt back into the air and was gone, winging over the highest peak. Just so, the red dragon of Vortigern shall be defeated, Emrys said, but not so loud the High King could hear. Cursing the fool dragon, Vortigern ordered the tower to be built again. Then he turned to Emrys. If the tower does not stand this time, I will have your blood. That night young Emrys stared out of his window, past the newly built tower. A hawk circled lazily in the sky. Suddenly the hawk swooped down, landing on his window ledge. There was a moment of silent communication between them, as if Emrys could read the hawk's thoughts, as if the hawk could read his. Then away the hawk flew. Mountains, valleys, hillsides, forests gave way beneath the hawk's wings until, far off in the distance, it spied thousands of flickering lights coming up from the south. As if in a dream, Emrys saw these things too. Emerging from his vision, Emrys turned from the window and went downstairs. He found King Vortigern by the foot of the tower. I have seen a vision that your fate is linked with the red dragons, Emrys cried. You will be attacked by thousands of soldiers under the white dragon's flag. Attacked and slain. Vortigern drew his sword, angry enough to kill the boy for such insolence. But at that very moment, the lookout at the top of the tower shouted, Soldiers, my lord! Stop them! Vortigern raced to the top of the tower stairs and stared across the valley. It was true. And as he watched further, one of the knights leading the army urged his horse forward and raced along to the foot of the tower, shouting, Come and meet your fate, murderous Vortigern! Vortigern turned to his own men. Defend me! Defend my tower! But when they saw the numbers against them, the men all deserted. Surrender, Vortigern! Cried 1,000 voices. Never, he cried back. Never! The old wizard stopped speaking. Well, Arthur asked, what happened to Vortigern? You cannot end the story there. Merlin looked at him carefully. What do you think happened? For Tegan was slain, just as Henry said. Is that the boy speaking? Asked the wizard. Or the king? The boy, admitted Arthur. A king should forgive his enemies and make them his chiefest friends. You taught me that, Merlin. But did that happen? The men of the White Dragon defeated Vortigern all right. Burned him up in his own tower.
Ah.
And that night, the one who rode up to the tower first, what became of him? His name was Uther Pendragon. You may be the High King, Merlin said. Uther, mused Arthur. He was the last High King before me. But then he was a hero. He stood to rule. Perhaps one of his sons will come to claim my throne. Uther had only one, Merlin said softly. Though only I knew of it. He looked steadily at the boy. And that son was you, Arthur.
I told you.
Me? For a moment, Arthur
I am the only one.
Uther was my father? Then I am not fatherless? Then I am a king by right? And not just because I pulled the sword from a stone? Merlin shook his head. Don't underestimate your real strength in pulling that sword, Merlin cautioned. It took a true and worthy king to do what you did. Arthur gave a deep sigh. Why did you not tell me this before? The old wizard's hawk eyes opened wide. I could not tell you until you were ready. There are rules for puppets, just as there are rules for kings. So now I am king in truth? Merlin smiled. You were always king in truth. Only you doubted it. So you can thank your dreams for waking you up. But what of Emrys? Arthur asked. What happened to him? Oh, he's still around, replied the wizard. Went on dreaming, made a career of it. He rummaged around in some old boxes and crates by the desk until he found what he was looking for. I still have this. Saved it all this time. He tossed a large yellow dragon's tooth across to Arthur. Sudden recognition dawned on Arthur's face. You? You saved this? Then you were the boy named Emrys. Surely you've guessed that before, Merlin teased. But now perhaps we can both go back to sleep. Thank you, Merlin, Arthur said. I don't think I shall dream any more bad dreams. Merlin's gnarled fingers caged the boy's hand for a moment. But you shall dream, he said quietly. Great men dream great dreams, and I have dreamed your dreams. He plucked the crown from the desktop. Don't forget this, my lord king. Arthur took the crown and placed it carefully on his head. Then he turned, went out the door, and down the tower stairs. Merlin watched for a moment more, then sank back down in his chair. Closing his eyes, he fell immediately to sleep, dreaming of knights and a round table.
Is his name Merlin or Emrys?
That's the lion. That's the lion.
Is whose name Merlin or Emrys?
Ma'am?
Merlin.
Who's Merlin?
Emrys.
I feel like I have a feeling that Merlin might have done that. Might have said Emrys to fulfill the story when
May have said Emrys' wife.
I feel like Merlin might have said called himself Emrys during the story when in reality when the story took place. It could have been Merlin. Emrys could have been a name. Emrys could have been a name just to hide.
He didn't want to know, right?
Yeah, so he could reveal it at the end.
Sit down. Okay. Okay, so thinking about the character's thoughts and feelings, the boy. What thoughts and feelings did you notice, Leah?
Thoughts and feelings.
Uh-huh.
Things that I noticed is that like it was really it was
I'm sorry, go ahead.
it was really it was like non I'm trying to explain it. Non-profit.
How did the boy feel?
The boy felt like he was frightened. He had a bad dream, so he went up to the master, and then it all started happening because he told him the story, and then the story.
Scout. Okay, the quote in blue. Read it nice and loud, please, Jace.
The night was dark, and storm clouds marched along the sky. Rain beat against the gray castle wall. Inside, in a bedroom hung with
Tapestries.
tapestries. King Arthur had trouble sleeping. Awake, he was frightened. Asleep, he had
Disturbing dreams.
At last, he climbed out of bed, took a candle of light his way to his to light his way, remembered his crown, he turned back and found it under the bed where he tucked it in his house.
Very good. What does this quote reveal about the emotions of King Arthur at the beginning of the story? Blessing. How is the boy king feeling at the beginning of the story?
The night when this says the night was dark, it's like putting a picture in your mind, seeing how.
Yes. So, did the illustrations, Raina, help create a visual in your mind of how the boy felt and what the castle was like?
Yes. Very much.
What emotion does the phrase "the night was dark and storm clouds march" bring to mind? Blessing.
A picture.
What do you picture? The night was dark and there were storm clouds. Does it sound like a fun time?
No. Yes.
No.
Yes.
Sounds like you're about to have a peaceful nap.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. To me, yes.
Okay, what would make a king have trouble sleeping, Carter? Dreams? What specifically? Nightmares? Nightmares? Good morning. I saw her walk by about 10 minutes ago. Where's Miss Bromfield's class?
I know. She's
Where is it?
she goes straight in return.
You want him to show you? Okay. Oh no. No problem. Okay, what does this show that King Arthur, what shows us that King Arthur was having trouble sleeping, Tyga?
When he says when it says in a bedroom hung with tapestries, King Arthur had trouble sleeping.
And very good. So obvious, right? And what can you add to that, Leah?
I can add that another piece of evidence it shows me is at last he climbed out of bed.
There's another piece of evidence that show he had trouble sleeping. Cameron, what is it? The word frightened. Frightened. What'd you say, Leah?
Awake, he was frightened. Asleep, he had disturbing dreams. At last, he climbed.
Stop right there. So we know he had trouble sleeping because it says awake he was frightened, asleep he had disturbing dreams, right? And how did we say the illustrations help create that picture in your mind, Dario? How did the illustrations help create that picture in your mind? Were they happy? Did you see any wildflowers? A moon hung in the sky? A clean bedroom?
No.
What were the, excuse me, what were the illustrations like, Dario?
They were like dragons, and they were like scary and dark.
Kind kind of dark, right? A lot of shading going on. Not a lot of bright use of bright colors. Read the text in blue, please, Raina. Uh-huh. Very good. What does the text reveal about Arthur's feelings toward Merlin and the type of relationship they share, Colin? How does King Arthur, the boy king, feel about Merlin? Because what? How does he feel about Merlin? According to the text, what does the text tell us? Arthur settled onto a low stool and gazed up at the wizard. How does that tell me about Arthur's feelings? Does that tell me how Arthur feels towards Merlin? Arthur settled onto a low stool and gazed up at the wizard.
Nothing else.
Does that tell me, Tyja, how Arthur's feeling? How he feels toward Merlin?
No.
No.
It says he'd come seeking comfort and companionship.
He'd come seeking comfort and companionship. Comfort and companionship. What does that tell me about how King Arthur feels about Merlin, Parker?
The Arthur feels comfortable around him and talk about something that he's mad about or
Yes.
he feels safe.
He feels safe. He's seeking comfort, right? Was he looking for a story?
No.
No, he was looking, according to the text, it said he was looking for what? Comfort and companionship.
I like it.
Read the text in blue, please, Carter.
Thank you, my father.
Arthur said.
I don't think I should dream anymore. Bad dreams
Merlin's gnarled fingers.
Case the voice in for a moment, but you should dream peace and quiet.
Great man.
Great men dreams, and I have dreamed that your greatness.
What?
He plucked the crown from the top. Don't forget this, my lord king. Arthur took the crown and placed it carefully over his head. He went out the door and down the tower stairs.
Okay. What does this quote from the end of the story combined with the final illustration from the book show about the growth of Arthur as a character? How did he grow? How do we see Arthur grow? Turn and talk at a voice level 1 for 1 minute with your shoulder partner about how Arthur grew from the beginning of the story. Take 1 minute to turn and talk with your shoulder partner about how Arthur grew. How did Arthur grow from the beginning of the story? Turn and talk with your partner. How did Arthur grow from the beginning of the story? Very good. Oh, class. Oh, man. Oh, class.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so let's finish our turn and talk and bring it down to a voice level 0. I heard some really good answers. Sophia, you were in my group. How did you say that Arthur changed from the beginning of the story?
In the beginning of the story, he was like scared and frightened because he just woke up from a nightmare. But more towards the end, he was like happy and like proud because he realized that he was like the son of a dragon slash king slash.
Excellent, excellent. And in your group, Colin, what did you guys discuss?
We discussed that he was unsure of himself being a kid in
Uh-huh.
the beginning, and then at the end he was more sure and confident.
Very good. How did he feel at the beginning of the story again, Dario?
Scared and frightened.
And how does he feel now, Blessing?
Have faith and joyful.
Joyful. Why, Parker?
He had to learn if he stood in front of the sword, he would become king, and that his dad was also a former king before he died.
Okay, so at the end, one of the final illustrations that we see is him putting the crown back on his head. In one of the final illustrations, let's see. What is putting that crown? Hey, Miss Jamie.
Oh my God!
What is putting that crown back on his head symbolize, Leah?
Wait a minute, please. Wait a minute, please. Can you please tell me the question again?
Okay, what is him putting that crown back on his head symbolize?
I think it symbolized him being the king, and that he remember. Well, and then he like he remembers him being king, and about how like
Is he still afraid, Rainer?
no.
No. You say no. How do you know, Leah? How do you know he's not afraid anymore?
Because at the end he was joyful and he started to be more happy during the story and learning that his dad was a former king and like and he has a family member that's a dragon king.
Very good. So he's not. Is he just a fatherless boy?
No. He's a king.
He's a king. Not only a king, but his dad did what?
Was a former king. What?
Killed the dragon. The yellow, it was white. It was white.
Yes. So he's the son of someone that was very brave, right? Okay. So in your ELA journal, we're going to do a writing response. Read it for us, please, nice and loud, Scout. It's the same place it is every time we do a writing response.
And you read.
Cameron, read the writing response, please.
In your reading log, answer the following questions. How does the relationship between Merlin and Arthur help Arthur change in the story?
How does the relationship between Merlin and Arthur help Arthur change in the story? So, in your writing response, I want you to think about how is Arthur feeling at the beginning of the story? As he talks to Merlin, is he still feeling the same way? At the end of the story, how is Arthur feeling? I want you to take 5 minutes and write 5 to 8 sentences. Okay, let's say 10 minutes.
Wait, who is
Arthur is the boy king. Yes, Arthur is the boy king, and Merlin is the old man, also known as who? Emerus.
Sorry, I was thinking of
Okay, so what is our assignment, Blessing? What?
And the assignment is in your reading log. You're going to write how's the relationship between Arthur and Merlin. Hope the author in the story.
How long will you have?
Not too late. 10 hours.
And 10 minutes.
15 minutes.
You will have 10 minutes to write how many sentences?
5 to 8.
5 to 8 sentences. You may begin.
You're fine.
Can you spell